Hey, what's up, guys? It's EC Money with Elgin and Chris. I'm Chris. That's Elgin. Well, that was my job, but
You have a job?
okay. All right. So, hey, thanks for checking in. Middle finger.
Alright, guys, and this week we're going to be going over our main topic, which is baby step number 3. And that's going to be attacking debt. But while we're talking about that, since this is also related on how to get to home ownership, we're also going to go ahead and cover what something called debt to income and how why attacking debt truly ties into that. And more importantly, your buying power. But let's first get on to this week's news. You know what that is today, Chris?
I have no idea.
Shocker.
What is it?
Rates are going up again.
Yeah, that's all. That's all you
Bruh,
get.
it's all going to be all, I feel like this year, it's going to be a lot of rates going up and a lot of freaking out. Well, here's the deal, man. The bond's going back up.
Right.
Here's the reality of it. Rates are going to go up. It's been inevitable.
Right.
Now, how high are they going to get up this year? I think because we're still in the pandemic and everything's going on,
Right.
just like the Fed stepped in last year,
Right.
they're going to step in again this year. They're not going to allow it to raise, too much.
Okay.
With that being said, right now, they've gone up from being in the, quite frankly, like the high 2s, 2.875, 2.99,
Right.
to they're like at 2.99, 3%. I mean, they're saying the average interest rate last week was 3.02. So we're not talking about that it's gone up a whole percentage or half a percentage, but understand that this is how it quickly rises.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. For the layman out there, what does that mean for the average buyer? Is it going to? Because right now it's a seller's market.
Still a seller's market.
Okay, so that's not going to change. It's still going to be hard to find inventory.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, so that doesn't really change much in the grand scope of things.
In the grand scope of things, no. It just means that it just gives everyone basically less buying power.
Okay.
Because now that same $100,000 loan, it's going to cost a little bit more per month.
Right.
And that actually, it's the perfect segue into our main topic, which is going to be attacking debt and debt to income. Because at the end of the day, when you go to get pre-approved, everyone's like, oh, I got approved for $200,000, or I got approved for $150,000, whatever that number is.
Right.
But the reality is the lender or the banks are not approving you for a price.
Right.
They're approving you for a payment.
Right.
The best analogy I can think of is renting.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to rent, they always are like, oh, you need to make at least 3 times as much as
The rent. Right.
the rent. Now, what's funny in that scenario, in my eyes, is they don't care what you pay.
Right.
They don't care what you owe.
Right.
With a mortgage, it's completely different.
Right.
They care about everything coming in and everything going
Going
out, but they only care about it on a monthly basis.
Right.
And that's why it's called debt to income, is because they're going to see how much income comes in monthly,
How much debt you have going out?
and depending on the type of loan, then they're going to go ahead and say, okay, based on the type of loan you qualify, this is the max percentage you can spend on a monthly basis. So at the end of the day, to qualify for more, you're going to have 2 choices at that point.
Right.
Well, really 3, but 2 main choices. Either A, make more income.
Right.
And my answer to that is, if we could all make more income overnight, we would, right?
Right.
So that's really not the first solution.
Right.
Second solution is get rid of debt.
Right.
And we can all work on that.
Right.
Because let's be real, we all have way more things than we need. And the key word is than we need. Not
Right.
that we want, not that we want to have,
Right.
but need. And that's really this main topic, is that baby step. So how do we go about attacking baby step number 3, which is attacking debt?
Well, before we go any further, see, that actually clarified something for me personally, because you'll notice that people will pay more rent. Let's say somebody pays $2,500 a month in rent.
Yeah.
They won't get a house or mortgage payment for $2,500. They wouldn't qualify.
They might not qualify, absolutely.
Which is so crazy, because if you can demonstrate an ability to pay $2,500 a month in rent, that doesn't translate over to buying a house.
It doesn't translate into buying a house. The other thing is getting approved for rent. I mean, I'll give you a personal story, actually. He said don't get too personal. Wrong person to do that with.
Right, let's do it.
Once upon a time, I was in the auto industry.
Mm-hmm.
And once upon a time, I decided to stop working for about 6 months of my life.
I remember that, yeah.
Now, I've been fortunate enough that by that time I had done a couple things in my life to put myself in that position where I could take the 6 months off.
Right.
With that being said, it was time to get back to work. For those 6 months, I was stayed with a really good friend of mine.
Right.
You know, destroyed his 1-bedroom place that he let me stay in.
I heard the stories.
You heard the stories?
I heard that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But with that being said, I did need to go and get an apartment.
Right.
I remember getting an apartment in that time before I was even employed.
I remember the story. And that's what's so funny about, I guess this is a little bit of behind the scenes. That's what's so fun about doing this here with someone that you're friends with. Because that's a story that we've discussed before, but it's perfect for literally what we're talking about.
It's real life.
And this was like years ago, so that's incredibly...
But I would have never qualified for a home.
Right.
But how was I able to demonstrate to get an apartment? Well, credit for one.
And money saved up.
And money saved up for two. And my past income reflected that I'm going to get there again.
Right.
And I showed them, look, I'm getting a job.
Right.
I haven't yet. And here's a couple offers that I had. I just haven't chose where I want to go.
You'd be lucky if I rent from you, sucker.
Basically.
They did
Basically what it was. When they're like, I'm like, why would you not want to rent from me?
Right.
Everything shows you I always pay.
Right. Yeah.
Mortgage, they could care less.
Right. You weren't working for 6 months.
I wasn't working for 6 months, and with a mortgage, they care about what you're doing right now to know what you're doing in the future. Yeah, your history matters.
Right.
A lot, but at the end of the day, if you're not working, you're not working.
Right.
So, absolutely key, man. So, it definitely gives us two different takes in the world when it comes to looking at this stuff.
Right.
But with that being said, we go into attacking that debt.
Right.
And there are two major philosophies on how to do it. You got your financial mindset that says, well, you're going to pick the highest interest first.
Okay.
And you're going to pay that off first.
That's what I've heard most in my dealings with financial advisors, realtors, and even other loan officers. Pay the one that has the highest interest rate first. So I'm assuming you disagree.
It's not that I disagree. It's that it's not the most practical for the way that psychology works on us as humans.
Right. Meaning
we like instant gratification.
I see your point. I think I know where you're going with this. That's perfect. Actually.
So if the highest debt is 10 grand.
Yeah.
The highest interest rate one is 10 G's.
Right.
But you got one on the other side that's even, let's say it's a 0%.
Right.
But it's $500.
Yeah.
Or it's $1,000.
Right.
Why would you not get rid of the little one first?
Because so psychology, if you have 5 cards and 4 of them are, let's say, 500, 500, 500, 500, and the last one is 10 grand, you can wipe out the 4 $500 ones, and then the 10 grand is left, and you're like, I have 4 out of my 5 cards paid off. I'm doing a great job.
Absolutely. And then we do one other thing we call the Snowball Effect, which I have to say, I didn't come up with it.
Right.
I got to give him a shout out. I follow Dave Ramsey.
Right.
And
good guy to follow.
Good guy to follow. I know he doesn't agree with mortgages and debt.
Right.
Unless you have to.
But he's rich.
So he can say that.
Yeah.
So one day, we won't agree with it. No, I'll still agree with it.
Right. Why not?
You can leverage debt towards your advantage when it's an actual asset.
That's way too advanced.
We won't get into it.
Right.
But you could.
You could.
With that being said, the Snowball Effect says this. All right, so let's say that $10,000 one has a minimum payment of $100.
Right.
And those other 4 that you talked about have minimum payments of just $20 each. Again, I could go ahead and grab all my money and try putting it all the way over here on this $10,000 one and just keep making those $20 minimums.
Right.
But kind of like we talked about last show, with interest, it's still going to take us at least a year or 2 years with minimum payments to pay off those little ones.
Right.
Or I can grab all my excess money,
put it into that,
pick one of the $500 one, and start attacking it to pay it off in 2, 3, 4 months.
Right.
Now that I've paid it off, so let's say my excess money was $200 a month.
Right.
So instead of $20 a month, I was saying 200, month 3, it's gone.
Done.
Well, guess what? Now I just picked up an extra $20 a month in cash flow.
Right.
Because that minimum payment's gone.
It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
And now I do that again until that's gone. So now I got 2. Now I picked up 4. Now I have $40 extra in cash flow.
Right.
Then 60.
So on and so
80.
forth. Right.
So now I can now I have none of those left. I have the 1 left. It was 100. Plus I was sending 200 to attack each one. Plus, I picked up the extra 80
Right.
from those other ones. So now I'm not just sending an extra 200, I'm actually sending an extra 280.
Right.
And you crush it, and you get it done.
Right. The $10,000 card comes down much easier at that point.
Way easier, and you feel much better because you actually feel like you're getting somewhere instead of just spinning your wheels and you're like, man, I still, in 6 months or in a year, you're like, I still have all 5 credit cards.
Right.
It's discouraging.
Right.
It just is. It's the way we work.
Yeah, it's like you said, psychology. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
The same reason why when we're going to the gym, to working out, you focus on things you can't see, like your waistline.
Right.
Why? Because you don't see your waistline dropping, but it is.
Right.
So that's why they use that measuring tape, because you're not going to see a 6-pack right away.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
You know what I mean? So that's why they focus on all these different items, to show you that you are making progress.
Right.
Because if you just went and you weren't making progress, let's be real. For some of us, going to the gym makes us feel better. For some others, it makes us feel worse because we're tired, we're exhausted.
Yeah, most. What did you do all this for if there's no gratification?
Exactly, other than feeling more tired, exhausted,
and sweaty.
And work my whole body out.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different arena. But then we talk about how that affects our buying power.
Right.
And that's where I really want to get into. The reason you want to get rid of that is because then it can affect, like we talked about, that debt to income.
Right.
On how much you can buy.
Right.
So for every $1,000 you finance on the mortgage, the reality of it is if you had no interest, you finance $1,000 over 30 years.
Right. You ain't paying nothing. Yeah.
It's less than $3 a month.
Yeah.
You add some interest on it, depending on where rates are at. It could be $5. It could be $9 a month.
Right.
Total. But in comparison to those credit cards,
36%.
I mean, $1,000 could have a minimum payment of $30 a month.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
You look at that into a mortgage, that's easily, I just said, 7, so that's easily going to go ahead and add up to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
Right.
And you could have been approved higher on a mortgage.
Right, quickly.
Easily. So really, where that leads, again, go ahead and focus on finding a strategy that you're actually going to focus on and you're going to be able to stick to.
Right.
My opinion, I did the Snowball Effect. It worked for me. Loved it. I felt good. It was all about immediate gratification. It actually becomes like a little video game mentally.
Yeah, it's like what's what I'm looking for, because I did the same thing, and it actually, you get it done quicker. I did it with a savings account and with my debt. It was like 2 months later, I'm like, wait, did I really just? It's a beautiful thing.
It makes a world of a difference. And then that leads us to our last segment, which is my new favorite segment after we got to blow houses up last week. And we're going to call it Mind-Blowing Facts.
That was completely improvised.
Like my life.
Right. No, you got it all planned out. All right, so...
So mind-blowing facts, Chris. So we talked about debt to income. We talked about attacking debt. Do you know, which you should, so we were in the auto industry, both of us, for a while.
Right.
Average car payment in the United States, how much a month?
$400 to $500. Now, before you go any further, I must say this. Genuinely, the mind blow. We didn't do too much prep work. We kind of we're friends, so we're on the same page most of the time. And the fact that he brought up when I got in here, it blew my mind really. And when he did it, he said, "Ha! I blew his mind." And I think that it's actually really, 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 really interesting. But average car payment between $400 and $500, you're gonna pay that.
Per quite a few of the credit reporting websites, as of the first quarter of this year, the average car payment is $568 a month in the United States.
So it went up.
Yeah, it's gone up.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
It's gone up. I mean, there's barely any brand new cars right now that even start under $20,000.
That's true.
Brand new.
Yeah, and I remember $20,000 would get you a decent car.
Yeah,
2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back in the day, you could get you could even get a Honda Accord back in the day.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. A quick story about a Honda Accord. I worked at the Honda dealership. My boss allowed me to drive one. It was the demo, and I think I put 3,000 miles on a brand new Honda Accord that they took 2 years to sell afterwards. So.
Pleasure doing business?
Yeah. I didn't get fired for it. Gary, I love you.
I love you too. For never beating me up. You should have.
Right. So
You
anyway,
should've.
so
But
the mind blowing
568.
fact. Right.
Okay, so first of all, why in the world is it so high? And it goes back to the old saying, keeping up with the Joneses.
Right.
Simple enough. There's plenty of beater cars out there. There's plenty of $5,000 cars,
Right.
$10,000 cars that will run you 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
But everyone has to have the newest technology.
Right.
I'm not saying it, but again, remember baby step number 1, self-evaluation.
Right. What do you need? Right.
What do you need? Look at yourself in the mirror. Do you need a $560 a month car payment? The answer is no.
You see, and it's funny because when you think about self-evaluation, you don't always apply it to yourself.
No.
Right? And I'll tell you this. First time I remember telling you this. The Audi that you had.
Yeah.
I wanted an Audi just because you had the Google Maps. Seriously, because in my car, the maps, you have to manually update it with Lexus, and it's like, I don't want this. So I really wanted an Audi just because it had the Google Maps that automatically updates.
Okay.
So it's like, do I need one? No. I can use my phone.
You can use your phone.
But it was just that this is really awesome. I want it. Kind of thing.
I mean, old school, you could use a map.
Right.
A piece of paper.
Or MapQuest.
Or MapQuest.
You know.
Or you could just look it up before you even left.
Right,
I mean,
right,
there's
right.
plenty of solutions. We got to the places we needed to before we had all this time.
Right. It made us dumber.
It made us lazier and then spend more.
Right.
Understand consumerism. That's the
Yes.
goal. Is wants us to spend more and we go for it. And again, the point of this channel is to arm us, educate us, and make us self-aware.
Right.
So it goes there. But where this really goes, which is the mind-blowing fact, as we've gone ahead and dragged it out, it's on average, if you didn't have that car payment, that means on average, that same customer would qualify for $125,000 more on a home loan.
That is a huge difference, dude.
That means if you qualified for $200,000 before because you had the car,
Right.
you would have qualified for $325,000
Easily.
easily. If you qualified for $300,000, that would have been $425,000 without that car payment.
See? And
Choose what you need first.
right, I agree. And that was this week's mind-blowing fact.
Alright guys, thanks for tuning in
Yes.
to EC Money. Make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell so that way you get notified. Write a bunch of comments on what else you want to hear about, what else you want to learn.
Right.
I'm going to keep up the mind-blowing facts because I just want Chris to make a bunch of explosions, by the way. Only reason I'm doing
That
this
was
channel.
literally the only reason. I love it. I enjoy it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
See ya.